Thank you for joining us to learn more about how you can create a more supportive work environment for all employees, especially those that may have experienced trauma, through cultivating a trauma-informed workplace. I am delighted to be speaking today with Abby Horsell, Director of Human Rights and Social Impact at Marriott International, and Helen Taylor, former Senior Director of Grant Programs at GFEMS. Today, Abby and Helen will talk us through the Future in Training Hospitality Survivor Employability Curriculum, which is designed to support the employment and empowerment of survivors of human trafficking in the hospitality industry. This case study is intended to accompany the trauma-informed company training developed by the Global Business Coalition Against Human Trafficking, which aims to help businesses build the capacity of their people managers to support employees who have experienced trauma. Before we get started, I'll review one of our learnings from the trauma-informed company training that you will get to see put into action today through this case study. A trauma-informed approach to employment is one that realizes the widespread impact of trauma on a person's life and performance and believes in the potential for recovery, recognizes the signs and symptoms of trauma in staff, responds by fully integrating knowledge about trauma into policies, procedures, and practices, and seeks to actively resist re-traumatization. I look forward to exploring how Marriott and GFEMS implement this approach through the FIT curriculum. Abby and Helen, thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Thanks, Kelly, and hi, everyone. My name is Abby Horsell, and I am the Director of Human Rights and Social Impact at Marriott International. Marriott is a worldwide operator, franchisor, and licensor of hotel, residential, and timeshare properties under 30 brands with more than 8,000 properties across 139 countries and territories. As a leader in the travel and tourism industry, we also strive to address some of the industry's highest risk and most pressing human rights issues, including human trafficking.
And my name is Helen Taylor, and I was the former Senior Director of Grant Programs at the Global Fund to End Modern Slavery, also known as GFEMS. GFEMS is a nonprofit that co-creates sustainable solutions to combat trafficking around the world.
Great, thank you. It's wonderful to meet you both and to have you today. I would love if you could provide a few details on why the hospitality industry may be a good fit for survivor employment.
Thanks, Kelly. Well, before we talk about the hospitality industry, I just want to raise a common misconception about human trafficking. A lot of times when people think about trafficking, they think about sex trafficking, but the vast majority is actually labor trafficking. So this is forced labor in industries that are all around us, including, people cleaning our homes and places of work or businesses that we frequent, landscaping, farming, even the clothes that we wear. So one thing I want to emphasize is that when we talk about survivors of human trafficking, oftentimes they're people who already have skills and are working in jobs, but they aren't being paid for them. Some survivors have missed out on years of formal education. Others have never had that opportunity. For those trafficked from overseas, there may be a language barrier, a cultural barrier, and certainly just the challenges of navigating complex government, administrative, or bureaucratic processes. There may be legal issues. So I'm not saying that there are no challenges, but at the end of the day, I want to emphasize that survivors often have strong work ethics and skills to already bring to the table.
That's right, Helen. We agreed that the hospitality industry may be a great way to leverage some of those existing skills and be a uniquely attractive opportunity for survivors because of a couple of reasons. First, the availability of entry-level opportunities that don't require a lot of formal education or training. While many people often think about front desk associates or housekeepers, there is actually a wide variety of roles, from engineering to culinary professionals to accounting and human resources. Second, the hospitality industry also offers longer-term career growth and on-the-job training, education, and professional development. I always like to share a story that my manager, who is now our Senior Vice President of Multicultural Affairs, Social Impact, and Business Councils, actually started his career as a front desk associate at a local Marriott property.
I love that story too. It's really setting a great vision for survivors who want to follow that career path. At the same time, the working environment isn't right for everyone. There are a lot of isolated spaces. There is frequent interaction with strangers, which may be triggering or re traumatizing for some survivors. So, understanding that is also part of creating a trauma informed workplace.
I'd love to dive in now to the program and learn a bit more about what this really is and how it came to be.
As a company that cares deeply about human rights, Marriott has a long history of combating human trafficking and administering human trafficking awareness training to all on property associates. A few years ago, we started to think about what more we could do and how we could leverage some of the resources that our company and industry can offer. So, Marriott and GFEMS partnered to co develop the FIT curriculum with the following goals: to provide training and resources for survivors interested in exploring or pursuing careers in the hospitality industry, empower survivors to gain market based skills that can also be leveraged across other industries, and to create an accessible new resource for service providers who are aiming to support survivors in their economic empowerment journeys. We are currently piloting the curriculum with a wonderful group of service providers, including the University of Maryland Safe Center, Sanctuary for Families, Mosaic Family Services, and A21.
Great. Thank you so much for providing some of that context. So I'd love to now get a little bit deeper into the program and really what about this program helps to build a trauma-informed workplace.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think sometimes it can be daunting to hear terms like trauma informed or trauma in general. It can make people a little bit nervous. But at the end of the day, there are really two goals with this. The first is to provide awareness of what's expected in the workplace. And the second is to increase competence of basic skills. So, what we really try to do is to help survivors envision themselves in a hotel or a hospitality setting and let them know what they'll be expected to do, and then also provide them with some of the skills or hone some of the skills they already have to work well with others. I think the really exciting thing that we're able to do with Marriott in this program is how we built out the pilot. So, with trauma informed practice, a lot of times it's not what you're doing, it's how you're doing it. And the most important thing for us is to make sure that we reduced barriers for participants who wanted to go through the pilot. And what that means is we really thought about their situations and what would make it difficult or easy to participate. And we also got feedback directly from survivors. So we heard from people that, they want to participate, but they couldn't take time off of current jobs. So we did some classes in the evening. Some people didn't have internet access that was regular. So we provided hotspot access to them. We provided laptops or other smart devices so that they could participate virtually. We provided stipends for childcare, transportation, and meals. And we also paid them for their time as if this was a real training, because in our minds, it is a real training. So thinking about not only providing the curriculum, but really what it takes to be successful in the curriculum was our goal. And we're just really grateful that Marriott shared that vision and was able to support that. So the FIT curriculum has 7 modules for hospitality. In the first, you can see there's an overview of hospitality, which talks about the different roles in hospitality. And we got great feedback on this because a lot of times survivors were only thinking about the first person who meets you at the front desk. They didn't realize there were so many diverse positions, and it really sparked interest in entering hospitality, as well as expanded a vision of what would be possible. So you can start at front desk, you could start cleaning, you could start in the kitchen, and you could eventually make your way up to senior management. And that was really exciting for people to hear. The second module was on presentation. Presentation skills was important for this group of people because they, especially if they missed formal education, they wouldn't have had the same level of practice in a safe environment, really getting feedback that wasn't critical and was more empowering. So people were really appreciative of how presentation skills helped them show their true selves and present with confidence. The third on teamwork was also essential. I think that survivors are some of the most independent, resilient, hardworking people I've ever met. And because they've come from a background where they've had to be very self-sufficient, teamwork sometimes took a back seat. And so people want to work as a team, but they didn't always have that practice. So again, we're just creating some of the muscle memory to work as a team and talk about those basics that perhaps they missed in formal education or other experiences. The fourth is on personal presentation. So this was something that we received feedback directly from survivors on. People felt like they didn't fit in to certain situations. Like if they walked into a hotel lobby, people would think that they stood out. And so this was one that we really had to approach with a lot of thoughtfulness, and we continue to get a lot of feedback on this module because there's a fine line between wanting people to feel comfortable in the settings they're in and helping them have that confidence, and also recognizing that there is room for diversity and social expression and that we don't all need to fit the same mold. Module 5 on time management was also an important one. There is a lot more information coming out about trauma and how trauma affects time management and ability to remember things, which we know are often very important in jobs. And so this was just very practical skills for managing time, for making sure that you can show up to work on time, why that's important, or being able to communicate if you're not able to show up. And this was really something that we discussed in the contents, both of the participants, but also managers, right? Those people managers in the businesses, to understand that if people aren't able to show up at time, the span of barriers that might be causing that. People are juggling childcare responsibilities. They often don't have reliable transportation. There are other factors that are affecting that. It's not about being irresponsible or not wanting to be there. And there are a lot of barriers that are not intrinsic to someone's personality or ability to do a job that may be affecting their time management. The sixth module on relationship management was really focused on how to interact with coworkers. And this module was important for us to also talk about setting boundaries and to be able to work through those boundaries to check when something was actually appropriate and when something has kind of crossed a line. And then finally, module 7 is often, we often hear that this is the most helpful module for participants because it's really about applying for jobs and interviewing. So we know that the interview process is not always good at figuring out the best fit for a role. And it takes a lot of practice to be able to showcase your skills in a way that resonates with employers. And this can be really tricky for everyone, not just survivors. So we were grateful to have Mary's input on the STAR method, which is something that they use, and to be able to put a very tangible skill to practice. And as a result of this practice, pilot participants said they felt really more confident in being able to prepare not only for hospitality jobs, but other jobs that they were looking at.
Thanks so much, Helen. And I really appreciate you giving us so much detail behind what the modules look like in the curriculum. And that leads me to the next portion here, which is something I think is really interesting about the program and how you intentionally use insights and learnings to really continually improve the curriculum. And so I'd love if you could talk a little bit more about what that looks like.
Absolutely. So the first phase of the program, or the pilot, as you've heard us call it, really focuses on doing just that, testing the fit curriculum and how it's implemented. We intentionally worked with different types of service providers and different organizations operating in different regions throughout the country to get as much feedback as possible from both the participating survivors as well as the service providers. So that feedback is helping us revise and enhance the curriculum itself and make changes to the modules that Helen just walked us through. Determine the need for post curriculum follow up services like job search or application assistance or longer term mentoring, and monitoring some of the barriers that survivors face in trying to gain professional training, some of which you heard Helen highlight, and understand the adequate level of support that survivors need while participating. Ultimately, Marriott and GFEMS aim to create the best possible resource, and going through this pilot is essential for us to be able to do so. We want to ensure that it meets survivors' needs, and we also want to be able to provide that practical and experience-based guidance to service providers to ensure that the curriculum can be effectively deployed.
Oh, what are kind of the lessons learned, things you wish other companies or organizations might know or be aware of as they may start their own journey into trauma-informed workplaces?
So, first and foremost, as a large global company, launching a new program can be overwhelming. But we recognized that it was okay to start small and work locally, in this case, in only 4 markets where our pilot sites are operating. And then we can scale and grow the program over time. We also realize that building awareness and capacity among our associates and managers does take some time. While we're so proud that more than 950,000 associates have completed our human trafficking awareness training program since it launched, we also recognize that hiring survivors and creating a trauma informed workplace is very much a next step that does require some additional training and resources. So, we really focused on identifying the things that people are already doing to create that trauma informed environment and building on those skills and practices to make sure the process was approachable and tangible, and ultimately one important step towards our longer term goals.
Some of the lessons learned was to really adopt a strengths-based approach. And one tangible way we did that was when talking about career paths, it's actually very confusing to talk about titles. If you ask a survivor, can you be an associate on XYZ? They're like, I don't even know what that means. But if you talk about, okay, this is a position in the kitchen and it's food prep and you'll be, cutting the raw vegetables and getting them ready. They're like, oh, I've done that. Yeah, I've worked in a kitchen for 10 years, and so really thinking about the skills instead of the titles was helpful, and made things feel more within reach. The second is to address prohibitive logistics. And I already mentioned this, but some of the things that worked really well in our pilot was to make sure that we could offer stipends for time spent on the training, to have flexibility in the training hours, and also to provide remote training opportunities. The remote training was really important, not only because we conducted part of these pilots in the thick of the pandemic, but also because it helped people not worry about transportation or childcare. And then the third is to engage local organizations. You have local organizations working on trafficking, anti-trafficking, wherever you are. One thing that we did was to talk to those organizations and to say, the clients, the survivors and where they are. Please recommend some people who you think are ready to engage in this pilot. And people came up with lists right away. And then we also had Marriott, of course, meeting us in these 4 different markets to say, we want to create this accessible pathway for survivors to join once they have gone through this pilot.
Thank you so much, Abby and Helen, for speaking with us today. I know this discussion has left me with a lot to think about. And we really hope that this inspires other companies to start out on a similar journey of survivor empowerment and employment and implementing trauma-informed workplaces.